Well, thank you for that introduction. Again, my name is Cole Grunsfelder. I'm the UF Lead Manager. Assisting me, I have Kayla Hudson. She's one of our benefit specialists. Sorry, lead benefit specialist. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post in the chat and we will get to those as soon as we can. Just some quick house cleaning. If you're with UF Health or like UF Health Jacks or Shands, some of this may not apply to you because this will be specific to the university itself. So without further ado, let's kick it off. We're here to talk about FMLA, parental leave, and medical leave. So, what is FMLA? FMLA is a federal law designed to provide unpaid job protected leave for a specified family or medical reasons for our employees, right? It can be taken all at once or intermittently or on a reduced work schedule as an individual provider indicates. FMLA, the entitlement is eligible for employee up to 12 work weeks of unpaid protected leave in a 12-month period. Now, under FMLA protections, employers are prohibited from considering FMLA qualifying absences when making decisions regarding hiring, promotions, or discipline. All right, so anytime that you're taking your FMLA leave throughout the year, that's all considered protected time, and you cannot be discriminated against for taking that time. Employees should be treated equally during qualifying FMLA absences and receiving the same protections as if they were actively working. Employees returning to work from FMLA must be returned to the same nearly identical job. This also goes to include when it comes to like pay raises or, like I said, promotions. Now, when can an eligible employee use FMLA leave? So we often get this question. It can be for the birth, adoption of a child, care of immediate family member. And this is going to be very specific because the UF family member definition is quite more encompassing than the federal government's, and we have to go by what the federal government gives us. And so that's generally spouse, child, or parent directly related to you. So like step parents or your grandparents on your spouse's side do not generally fit that category. Under the UF definition, they may, but not under the federal definition. You can take medical leave when you're unable to work because of a serious health condition, for qualifying exigencies arising out of the fact that the employee's spouse, child, or parent is on covered active duty or called to covered active duty status as a member of the National Guard, Reserve, or regular armed forces. You can also take FMLA leave to care for a covered service member with a serious injury or illness coming back from a deployment. It is important to note that when you're going out an FMLA for a military family member, that process may slightly differ from when you go out for the care of a family member or yourself. When you do go out on FMLA, it's generally best practice to let your employer know as soon as possible, or at least give them a 30-day buffer so that they can make preparations for your absence moving forward. Any questions there? All right. So conditions not covered. So common cold, flu, earaches, upset stomach, minor headaches, again, routine, orthodontic problems, short-term voluntary treatments, immunizations, unless there was on hospitalization. And generally, if it's going to be 3 days or less, get sick like within a 30-day period, that's generally covered under your sick leave. If it's a little bit more, that's okay. And that would be something you want to work out between you, your supervisor, and your department. However, if you're out sick, I would say, maybe a week or more, I would definitely look at contacting our department and reaching out to us to see if maybe FMLA may be appropriate to cover those absences. So FMLA eligibility. So any employee, regardless of class, who has worked for UF at least 12 months and has physically worked at least 1,250 hours in the last 12 months prior, will be eligible for FMLA. Now, we use a rolling calendar to measure entitlement, right? And the annual entitlement is 12 weeks or 480 hours. Um, if you'd like to take a look at your FMLA to see if you are eligible or to see how much FMLA you have accrued, you can simply go to the UFFMLA calculation tool. That's by going to my self-service, hitting into benefits. Essentially, what you're looking at right here is that calculator. You'll put in your name, your last name, or your UFID. You'll hit the date that you plan on going out on FMLA, and you hit calculate, and that will give you a good estimation of how much time you have. You can also do this for your paid parental leave as well. Instead of selecting the FMLA calculator, it would be like the UFFMLA paid calculator. Extended leave of absences and what makes it extended. So first off, we have a few different leave types, right? We have continuous leave, we have a reduced work schedule, and sporadic absence. A continuous is any absence that's 15 days or longer and will require an EPAF. Reduced work schedule is the same, but it's an expected absence on a regular basis from work. And sporadic is just that, it's sporadic. You may take maybe a day here, a few hours here, maybe it's a few hours throughout the month, and that will really be dictated by the medical certification and some of the information the provider would provide on how that sporadic should be used. But it is just that, it is sporadic, it's unforeseen, and it could, maybe it's on a frequent basis, maybe it's for additional doctor's visits, or maybe there is a medical need where you have migraines and you just don't know when that may occur. So you may need a few extra days off every single month to do some self-care. Any questions on that? Oh,
I think you're good.
let's see. Someone just asked if their PFL would go 12 weeks. Um, that depends on your employee type, and that's going to depend on other factors way above my head. So I would say for those kinds of conversations, that's going to require a little bit more in-depth answer we can get into during the time frame we have here. I would definitely reach out to UF Central Leave and send us a ticket, and we can set up a time and date to discuss that. All right. Military leave. So as we alluded to earlier, military leave is also covered under FMLA. In order to be able to elect this leave, we'll need official orders, certification, or other documentation. And usually that's going to be for active deployment, Title 10 orders, SAD orders, state active duty, guard service, or reservist duties during declared emergencies by the Florida state government. This will also cover training and service examinations, as well as disabled veterans reexaminations. We got a question. I think that was it Barb?
No, it was accident. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I just figured I'd check. All right, parental leave. We also have parental leave. Now, parental leave is 6 calendar months away from work. All teams and all faculty are eligible for this, and it's one continuous period and cannot start and stop. All right. You can work part-time, you can work a reduced work schedule, and you can also schedule sporadic if needed. It can begin up to 2 weeks prior to the birth of your child or adoption, right? And as it's listed also as for fostering. FMLA is not required. So what that means is, unlike FMLA, where you have to work for the university for at least a year and 1,250 hours, parental leave, you are automatically eligible upon hire. Medical leave, non-FMLA. A college division can approve an employee for leave accruing employees, right? So those who have exhausted their annual FMLA entitlement, those who do not meet the employment criteria of FMLA, or those who are caring for a family member not covered by the DOL definition. So when applying for this type of leave, the same rules are still going to apply. We're still going to require a medical certification to make sure that it is a certified leave to care for yourself or a family member. It's important to note this leave can extend for up to 6 months or up to a year at a time in extreme cases, but those cases, um, there's a series of requirements and approvals that we'll need to address. And again, it's handled the same as the FMLA process, but instead of being tracked by central leave, it's tracked by your department. Any questions on medical leave for non-FMLA reasons? All right.
Hey, Cole.
Non-medical.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kayla.
I was just gonna say, since you're talking about parental leave a little bit, someone asked about FMLA isn't required with parental leave, but it
No,
is,
it
but
is
is it
not.
suggested? Yeah, what do you?
Um, the way that works is right. FMLA is coupled with parental leave. So if you have it, we do require that you use FMLA while you're on parental leave. Um, I know that I know that may not make a lot of sense right now. And that's something we're working to address upcoming with this workday switch, where we're looking at maybe having parental leave and FMLA decoupled, but that's yet to be seen. Um, but as of right now, we do require everyone to use your FMLA if you do have it available to you while taking parental leave.
Um, another question that kind of came through is really about paid family leave. And I'm sorry, Gabriella, I'm not 100% sure how to answer your question. You're saying, how do you gain more eligibility of family leave hours? So it just depends on how you mean that
Yeah, like
question.
in the example that was given, I think it showed like 480, like was that 12 weeks? So like
So that's
how
for
do you
FMLA.
how do you get more? Are you just automatically like say, I don't know, say my I put in mine and it says my number of eligibility is 320. How do I get the full 12 weeks?
Great. So I can see where the confusion may be. So look at it this way. So FMLA is 480 hours, okay? Big umbrella. Within
Mhm.
that big umbrella, you have 320 hours or 8 weeks of paid family leave or paid
Okay.
medical leave. UF gives us 8 weeks, right?
Okay.
The other 4 weeks that are still left in the books that would cover your FMLA would need to be covered by your own sick or vacation.
Okay. So I have like 320 that would be covered, and then the remaining 4 weeks, it would just be of my own leave that
Yes,
I use to pay if I
that is
want it.
correct.
Okay.
Which I know it's kind of confusing, and I get that, but again, FMLA is unpaid. So if you didn't want to use your own sick or vacation, you could also just do FMLA no pay, and that would be just fine too. It would still be protected time. It would just be unpaid time.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have one more question. What is the minimum hours you need to work in a pay period during parental leave? Um, there's no minimum, but it's important to remember that every pay period you need to work a certain amount of hours to pay for your UF benefits and to contribute towards your retirement. If you'd like to know in more detail, like, hey, how many hours would I need to work in order to pay for my benefits? You can submit a request to US Central Leave. We can run the calculation and we can send that back to you in your department to let you know, hey, every single pay period you need to use X amount of hours of your parental leave in order to continue to have your benefits paid for and not start accruing in debt. All right. So, hey, not a problem. My pleasure. Um, Initiating a request. This is actually really simple. First off, you can just pop onto Google if you wanted to. You can go type in UF Leave, and then on our website, we have a great drop down. You can elect extended leave of absence request form, and that will lead you to our online request form. And once you fill that out, um, you'll input this information right here. Central Leave will review the form to determine your eligibility. We'll send you out an email saying, hey, these are your entitlements. This is your leave you have available. These are your paid leave benefits. And you'll be either sent a questionnaire for your anticipated dates for the birth of your child or a medical certification if it's for you or a family member. And from there, we'll it'll take off from there. That'll go to your physician. They'll send that back to us, and then we'll certify your leave and send that back to you and your department for signature. So for parental leave, are you required to use 80 hours of FMLA prior like medical? So that's a great question. You are not required to use 80 hours of FMLA for parental leave. For parental leave, you can start using those 8 weeks or 320 hours right off the bat. If you're taking a medical leave of absence, UF does require that you use 80 hours of your own sick or vacation or a non-pay status before you have access to those 320 hours of paid medical leave hours. Now, after you receive that ELOA, the extended leave of absence form from us certifying your leave period will start right from X date to X date. Now, generally about 15 days from your date of return, you'll be required, depending upon your type of leave, to submit a medical release. That should be submitted to your department, and you'll need to have that submitted before your return in order that you return to work in any capacity. And the reason for that is to protect you, to make sure that you're healthy, you're ready to come back to work, and to make sure it'll be also protect the college in the same way. Any questions on the medical release form? All right. If I miss anything, Kayla, just give me a heads up, and I'll scroll over to the Q&A, see if I can answer those questions.
I'll try.
If you're unable to perform any essential functions of a position, at that point in time, we would direct you to the ADA office, and they have their own set of rules, requirements, and forms that you need to fill out. And if it's indeed within our ability, we'll place you on a temporary continuous leave until that that process can be sorted out. Go to the next slide. Now, the role of the supervisor and the employer. So when it comes to FMLA supervisors, it is a must that you create and adhere to a consistent policy outlining the expectations for your employees on leave and to provide updates on their status and intentions to return. It's important to keep all FMLA related information confidential, and to make sure that all forms are reviewed and signed, so we have the appropriate documentation for that extended leave of absence. It's also important to note that if you are the employee, you are under no compunction to supply them with your medical certification. That's private medical information that can come straight to us. That's not something we share. That just stays between you and Central Leave. And the only thing we're sending out to the department or to a supervisor would be that ELOA designating your leave time from one date to the next. Paid leave of absences. I know we kind of got into this a little bit earlier on, but when it comes to paid leave of absences, again, it's a biannual 8-week benefit. And what that means is, for instance, I'll take myself, right? So we just had a baby boy back in April. So on April 17th of 2026, Cole has a baby boy. Yes, cool, great. Now, I will not be available to receive my 8-week paid benefit until April 17th of 2028. So 2 years from that date. And the way that's going to be accrued is on a rolling calendar. So on the 18th, I'll accrue 8 hours. On the 19th, I'll accrue 8 hours, so on and so forth until my maximum of 320 hours has been reaccrued. In order to be eligible for paid family leave, you have to have an approved ELOA, it's becoming a parent, or experience a prolonged medical emergency, or suffer a serious medical condition for you or your family member. You must be FMLA eligible, and the absence has to be continuous for 3 weeks. And it is subject to UFHR approval. So I'm going to break that down real quick. So you have paid family leave, right? Paid medical leave. One is for parental, one is for medical. Now, the parental leave, you are automatically credited that. You are automatically given 6 months, 8 weeks paid leave, all right? Now, if it's a medical leave, it has to be longer than 15 days, all right, consecutive days, work days. The other part of that is you also have to pay in 80 hours of your own sick or vacation before you'll have access to those 320 hours. And that's only going to be for you or a family member's serious medical condition. That may change if you're dealing with some GAs or who are part of the CBA or faculty of the CBA. Their rules slightly differ, but for the most part, it remains the same. And like I mentioned earlier, it refreshes on a rolling basis, and Central Leave will confirm that eligibility. Is OAP included in the 80 hours? Yes. So that's a great question. Leave without pay is included in those 80 hours. So there are several different TRCs for FMLA. One of those will be like FMLA leave without pay. And if you don't have the required 80 hours or sick or vacation or a mix of both, you can use FMLA leave without pay. Renee, yes, a doctor can provide a letter to extend the medical leave request, but that letter, there are some very specific requirements. One, it has to be a letterhead with their signature, and it has to be very clearly defined. Like, hey, my patient still hasn't recovered. They need to be out for an additional X amount of weeks, or from the end date of the current ELOA to the next few weeks, whatever date that may be. As long as we have that information, we can go in, we can revise that ELOA and send that back out to the department and the employee, keeping them on FMLA longer if they need the additional recovery time. Melanie, I'm not understanding. How does the intermediate work? What do you mean by that?
Well, you and I visited last Friday. I'm
Oh,
the one with the parents.
yes, I remember. So sporadic,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, it's
So,
sporadic, and you never know because they'll change at the last minute, appointments, etc. So
yep.
I
So
just want to make sure I have a clear understanding.
sporadic is exactly that, right? So, for instance, if your physician says, "Hey, my patient needs to be out sporadically for, we'll say, 40 hours every single month," right? So then every single month you have 40 hours of sporadic leave you can use at any point in time. Um, what we do ask is that as soon as you need to use that you notify your supervisor and give them as much advance notice as you can. I know sometimes that always doesn't happen. You can have sporadic with migraines, and you don't know when a migraine is going to hit you, and that's totally understandable. But as soon as you find out or you're unable to work in that capacity, just let your supervisor know. If we can get that coded, they'll update your TRC and your timesheet, and you'll be good to go. And again, sporadic is exactly that. It's sporadic. The use may be here or there. It's just going to really depend upon the care that's needed for whatever condition for yourself or for a family member. Use of entitlement. So it's important to note, again, FMLA leave is unpaid. However, you can use, as we've been talking about, your sick or vacation while qualifying FMLA leave to make it a paid leave. You may use paid leave for continuous leave if eligible, and you may supplement your accrued leave with leave without pay, as we mentioned before, but it must account for your entire FTE. Any leave designated as qualifying for FMLA leave must be counted against that entitlement. So FMLA qualifying leave role. So role of the supervisor. It's important to note that supervisors must determine whether leave is for FMLA qualifying event when an employee requests his leave or calls in sick. So for instance, if you have migraines, right? We've been picking on migraines. So if you have migraines and you're going to be out for a migraine for an 8-hour shift, you need to let you know, hey, I'm going to be out for 8 hours. I'm having migraines. I'm going to be using my FMLA leave to cover this absence. They go, okay, great. If it's for, hey, I got food poisoning. I'm going to be out today. I'm not feeling well. I can't make it in. That's going to be a different conversation. That will be just straight sick leave and not FMLA sick or FMLA vacation. Because that is one thing that FMLA allows you to do, is that if you're on FMLA, you can use sick or vacation, or you can use 4 hours sick, 4 hours vacation, or 4 hours of leave without pay, or 4 hours with sick. However you get that 8 hours, however you want to put that in there, so that you are at a full FTE. Approved leave for FMLA qualifying events unless employee has exhausted FMLA. It's important to advise employees that their leave is counted toward FMLA entitlement. We also do that on the front end too with the emails that we send out from Central Leave. It's also important to track your employees' use of the 12-week entitlement in real time, and you can do that by using that FMLA calculator. You can also reach out to Central Leave, and we can send you a detailed spreadsheet or that same calculator and give you an idea of where your employee is at as far as FMLA usage. It is important to note that we're not always going to be able to give you the most up-to-date numbers, just because, again, we're working from data that's always a pay period behind. And so it's often really hard to kind of track that down, but we'll do the best we can. That's a great question, Wendy. So when sporadic FMLA is used, does it reaccumulate, or is it a flat 12 weeks worth of, caring for elderly? So what will happen, for instance, if you use sporadic leave, let's say on 6/16/26, right? You won't start reaccruing that leave until 6/16/27 for however much you used. And it's going to be a 1-for-1 on that rolling calendar.
Oh,
Yes, Gail.
really quick. You were going to talk about PWFA.
Mm.
I didn't know if you were going to address that. Someone did have a question about it.
Yes, I'll address that at the end, because that's gonna it's new, and we'll get that at the end, I promise.
No problem. I just want to double check. Okay.
Designating time as FMLA qualifying. So alternate time reporting codes, again, these TRCs are used to reflect the employee's absence is FMLA related. So again, we talked about this before. We have FSK for sick, FAL for vacation, FSC for special comp, FLH without pay, FFL, PFL for FMLA qualifying events, paid and both unpaid. All absence due to workers' comp, it's important to note, are indeed FMLA qualifying. We work really closely with our workers' comp partners over in ER. So if you ever have a question about workers' comp, let us know and we can help you get connected with them as well. Overtime comp leave cannot be assigned as FMLA qualifying per federal law. The only exception to this, it can be used on an FMLA leave to remain in pay status, but cannot be counted against your entitlement or an employee's entitlement. Now, employee medical information. So human resources, payroll processors, or supervisors, et cetera, cannot directly contact health providers. If you need to contact a healthcare provider or you have questions concerning medical certification, please let us know. We can kind of help bridge that gap. Employee medical forms should not be submitted directly to UF Human Resources, but should be sent to UF Central Leave. We do have a secure fax and a secure email that they can send that to. If you want more information regarding FMLA benefits, paid leave, please reach out to us at our email, and our phone is listed there. We also, again, have a lot of our information drawn directly from DOL and the DOL Employee Guide. Now, if an employee doesn't have the full 80 hours of personal leave to use first, can they use unpaid leave? Yes, they can use FMLA leave without pay to make up that 80 hours difference before using that paid medical leave. So if they only have, let's say, 20 hours of vacation or 10 hours of vacation, 10 hours of sick, they can use, 60 hours to make up that difference. So they would still be eligible for that paid medical leave, even if they didn't use paid sick or paid vacation for those first 80 hours on a medical leave. As soon as the 80-hour requirement is met, then they would have access to that 320 hours of paid medical leave. And it's a bit of a misnomer when I say 320 hours, because really the amount of paid medical leave is going to be determined by how long the employee is going to be out, because we only give the employee the amount of leave they need for the time that they're going to be out. So if they're going to be out for, the whole 480 hours, they're going to be able to use all 320 hours of that leave. If it's anywhere less, we will make a calculation to determine, hey, you're only going to be eligible for 100 hours or 220, whatever it may be. Now, that does conclude our presentation on FMLA. And I know we had some questions about the Pregnancy Fairness Workers Act and how that works. So Right now, we're in the middle of developing a policy for the Pregnancy Fairness Workers Act. If you do or have pregnant employees who are struggling to perform their duties, right, and they may need assistance, that would fall under central leave. We just ask that you, again, have them go to our website, click on extended leave of absence. We have a web form they can fill out. We have a drop down that says PWFA. As soon as they send that to us, we'll reach out with a response, and essentially it's very similar to the ADA process, where we'll be asking a series of questions, finding out, hey, what are the needs for this particular person, to help you, perform the basic duties that you have. You need additional bathroom breaks, that kind of thing. But for right now, again, if you have employees who may need some additional help or who may need accommodations at work because of a pregnancy related condition, please send them our way. The PWFA also covers postpartum. So if they're suffering from postpartum symptoms, or you think they may need help with postpartum, again, send them our way and we can kind of help bridge that gap. And that's what PWFA was really designed for, is for, pregnant employees in the workplace who are struggling to perform their duties because of this condition. Any questions there? All right. Well, thank you for coming out, everyone. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Kayla. We appreciate the information. Really quickly, if people have questions, could you remind them what the email is to reach out, or the phone number?
Central-leave@ufl.edu.
Okay, perfect. And we'll put that in the video description and in the information for the video.
Wonderful.
There we go. Kayla posted in the chat. Okay, thank you, everybody. We appreciate you joining us today. And thank you, Colin, Kayla. We appreciate the information. Enjoy the rest of your day, y'all.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.